Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the stage the forever Honorable Congresswoman Eva M. Clayton.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Congresswoman Foushee. You are a gem. I think you gave me a degree I didn't earn, so I better correct that. We have few attorneys in our family, but I'm not one. I went to UNC Law School, and I must confess to this audience that having a young child at that time, less than a year, I wasn't great enough to graduate. So I decided to be a better mother than to have a record that I wasn't a good student. So I want to let you know. And by the way, I think the other lawyers in our family is my grandson here. Yeah. And then I have another grandson who's following their grandfather, who was a country lawyer, who I fell in love with. I want to thank Congresswoman Foushee, not for only what she said about me, and I think I'm grateful for that, but I want to thank her for her tireless leadership, her bold leadership in Congress, where she's fighting, not only being there, right? And I want to thank her not only for her leadership in Congress, but her broad and continuous leadership for the broader communities here in the state of North Carolina. You know, some of us, when we get to Congress, we forget all the things we were involved with, right? She stayed the course. Please honor her by thanking her again. Now, you're going to think I'm up here just a cheerleader for Congresswoman Foushee, but anyhow, I want to thank her for the third reason, and that's about the fellowship. Congresswoman Foushee and the Black Caucus Alliance, North Carolina Black Caucus Alliance, really rescued and brought the fellowship here to the alliance where it be broader. It brought it to new soul. It brought it to good people. It made an effort. Not that it wasn't written well. I want to thank publicly. Is Stephanie Foushee here? Peace. I get it right. I'm giving it to. Stand up. I want to acknowledge her. She wrote that. But it was an environment that was stifling. It was an environment that was limited. And we needed to have it where it could really blossom. And thank you for welcoming Marcus here and there. Now, this is an opportunity for college students, graduate students, law students, or whatever you are pursuing in higher education to be involved in that. You can contribute to that. You can be in policy. You can be in program development. You can obviously be in voter registration, the engagement through civic development. You can, a number of issues you can be involved in. Food security, you know, what's dear to my heart. You can be involved in health. You can be involved in energy, economic development, all of those areas. And I'm sure Morris is going to find some other issues and areas to be involved in. And he will find many organizations where these students can blossom and grow and contribute to the development of the various organizations. And since I have the microphone, I want to say one other word. Now, they didn't ask me to say this, but I want to say it anyhow. Okay. Age has some privilege, huh? Being 90, you know I take some privilege, don't you know that? I don't know where to start this, but I'm going to say this because as I wake up in the morning, I recognize how grateful we should be to be alive. This is the day the Lord has made. Rejoice and be glad of it. Now, I pray to God that you are glad warriors. I hope indeed that you are warriors for justice. I hope you are warriors for understanding not only inhumane things that are happening, but not just to come here and talk among ourselves and say what we should do or what we feel and how injustice this administration is being. It's my father, who didn't have a high school education, reminded me of a story I'm going to share with you. And my father ended up being an insurance company, but not owning it, but he certainly was high in it. He told me early in his life that he had a job delivering cold ice. None of you all remember that, but anyhow, they used to have ice in the refrigerator. And he was an ice man. He worked for this white company. And he and his friends, because he didn't own a car, he and his friends decided that they were going to quit this man's job, right? He said, Mac, we're going to give this job back to these men. And he said he was the first one to drive, and of course he said, Mister, thank you so much for allowing me to work here. He said, what you mean, Mac? He said, well, I can't work anymore. He said, well, park your car over there. He parked his car and left the keys in there, right? And saw his friends all drive their cars up to the parking lot, right? And because he didn't own a car, that's the only place he had. And so he said, well, I thought we were going to all quit. He said, Mac, that was gatepost talk. Do you hear me? What we're saying here, I hope, is not gatepost talk. That we are really committed to fight for ourselves. And also fight for our neighbors, fight for democracy, fight for justice. When we fight for ourselves, when we fight for ourselves, we are able to fight for our neighbors. And once you understand the privilege of fighting for your neighbor, you begin to know you have really fought for yourselves. You understand that? My final note saying, I'm not preaching, and I'm not a preacher either. So and I'm far from a saint. But I remember in Timothy, 2 Timothy, Paul is saying to Timothy, Paul is in jail, and he's saying to Timothy, act boldly. The Holy Spirit didn't give you a sense of fear. He gave you a sense of justice. Lead. You know, what was happening is Timothy was being pushed back by some of his own people, some of the believers, right? Not only the unbelievers. You know, we can be pushed back from some of the people in our own camp, right? Too young, and you're a newcomer. You don't know what you're doing. Paul in jail say, be bold in your actions. Why? Because when you're not bold, you're ineffective. Stand up for democracy. Stand up so people will know you really believe it. Not whisper it to people, Not just come here and say, I believe in democracy, But act in that. Stand up means what? Stand up means you do what you need to do if you're not able to, there are several ways we can stand up. Stand up with our presence, right? Our presence means we attend meetings, we attend rallies, we attend protests. That's our presence. And then our other skill is communication, right? We either write letters, get on the telephone, or we speak. No one should accept the idea that any one of us should be silent. God will hold you responsible for the future if you're silent. So I have come to plead with you and to thank you, because I know you're going to do what I tell you to do, right? I want to thank you in advance. Praise your faith, your confidence in yourselves, give you the right to be the leaders at this moment. And leadership requires what? It requires courage. It also requires power. That's what Paul was saying. It requires power. You require power when you act boldly in your faith. You require power when you coalesce with people and other organizations. You can't do this alone. And he also said, work in self to love. Where they show hate, we show love. I know it's hard to show love with this administration is being so humane. Why? Because we love ourselves. When you love yourselves, you show love for others. Secondly, you will be self-disciplined. Just a word about self-discipline, particularly when we go to advocate. When we go on the Hill or go to the General Assembly, make sure we are disciplined enough not only to go to the Congress people we like that look like us, who are in our sorority or in our fraternity. Take that picture. Go to the one who is elected, whether you vote for them or not. Be disciplined enough to know that you go to people who have authority over the avocation that you want to have. The legislation is education, you go to the education committee, regardless whether they're in your party or not. Be ever disciplined to stay the course. They are expecting us to follow. They expect us to be shy. This administration is throwing everything at us to confuse us. And I must confess, we are a little confused. I am, because I'm old, I get a little more confused. But I tell you what, God has given me a good mind. Now, the memory may not be good, but the analytical mind is really good. I thank God for that. And God is giving you a good mind. And all I ask you to act with confidence and make sure that we are the leaders we deserve to be. Thank you.